And the first question that I ask my students one-on-one or in a golf school is, are you practicing to get better or are you practicing to get worse? And in my experience, most people are practicing to get worse. Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about how to play better and practice less. Yes, there is actually a way that you can play better and spend less time practicing. But before we get to that, I've really enjoyed bringing this free content to you, and our YouTube community, it's growing. And I want it to continue to grow, and you can help me do that. And the way you can do that is by sharing this content with your golfing friends, liking this video when it's over, subscribing to my YouTube channel by clicking on that little red button in the corner of this video, and that just tells you when I have new videos available for you to watch. And then comment. Leave me some questions down below. I'm happy to answer. Okay, so in my golf schools, I touch every part of the game. We go over irons, we go over fairway woods, hybrids, driver, short game, pitching and chipping, putting. But I also get into the mental game, and we go on course. I teach people how to play better, but we also talk about how to practice. And the first question that I ask my students one-on-one or in a golf school is, are you practicing to get better or are you practicing to get worse? And in my experience, most people are practicing to get worse. And I'm going to give you a little more explanation as to why I say that. So, and I fall into this category too. For a long time, when I go to the range, I would do what we call block practice. And what block practice is I grab my 8-iron, I pick one target, and I just fire ball after ball after ball at that target. And block practice is important, don't get me wrong. There is a place for that, and it's really skill acquisition. I got to get better at hitting this 8-iron. I got to get more efficient at it. But at some point, and this is to transition it to the golf course, I've got to get away from block practice and I've got to get into random practice. And that's what the rest of this video is going to be about. I'm going to teach you two very efficient ways to random practice that'll bridge that gap between the driving range and the first tee. So golf is unlike a lot of other sports. The way we practice golf is not the way we play golf. So that block practice I was talking about earlier is not really golf, because when I'm on the golf course, I don't get to drag another golf ball over and hit another shot. So the first way that we're going to random practice, as you can see I have my yardage gun here, I'm going to pick 4 different targets out on the range here, and I'm going to get a club that goes to each target. So my first distance is 124 to the red flag that's off to the left there. I'm a little downwind, so I'm going to grab a club that I know will make it there, and then I'm going to hit this club and make sure that it's the right club, that it'll make it to its destination. Yep, that's definitely it. So I'm going to leave that one out. I'm going to grab my next target, which is going to be that yellow flag over there to the right. And I've got 158 to that. It's a little downwind. So I'm going to grab that club. And I'm just going to test and make sure that it's the right club. Perfect, right club there. And I'm going to pick out one more target. We're downwind, there's some palm trees down the other end of the target, or the other end of the driving range, excuse me. They're at 229. So I'm going to grab a club that'll do that for me. Again, I'm just testing to make sure that I have enough club and that it's the right club. And I said I would do 4 targets, so I got to pick one more after this is after we test this one. Yep, that made it. So we'll keep that out. And then we'll do a short one here. So we're going to go to this white flag right in front of me, 77 yards. Grab a 77-yard club. And then again, I'm going to hit it just to make sure it's the right one. Perfect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to randomize my practice. So I'm going to go red flag, white flag, palm trees, yellow flag, and I'm just going to mix it up, and I'm going to pick the appropriate club as I'm doing that. So we'll start with the red flag again. Let me grab that club. And so now I'm actually playing golf. I'm not going to have a redo, and I'm going to give you a mental strategy that's going to help you as you're going through these different shots. So notice I'm going through my setup and everything, just like I'm on the golf course. That red flag, I'm in the middle of the fairway on the 3rd hole, and my destination's at red flag. I'm just going to go through my whole process here and hit the best shot that I can. Great. Now, if it's a great shot like that was, I'm going to imprint it with a positive emotion. So I am going to give a fist pump. I'm going to pat myself on the side. I'm going to say, hey, that's like me. All right, so the next one I'm going to go after is the 2 palm trees down the other end. So again, I'm just randomizing it, just like when we're on the golf course. We don't see the same shot over and over. I don't get to stand here and do it until I get it right. I've got one shot, and look at that, I rushed. Let's start, go through my pre-shot routine. So I got those 2 palm trees down the other end of the range. I've got the right club. I'm going to line myself, hit the best shot, make the best swing I can. Good, and that was what I would consider a less than desirable shot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make what we call an exit practice swing. So the ball's already gone. I'm just going to make a practice swing, and I'm going to picture the ball nice and high flying towards those trees, because that's not what I got. All right, we'll do one more, and then we'll get into the next way that we can random practice. So I'm going to go out to my yellow flag out there. I've got the club in my hand. I'm going to go through my pre-shot routine, and then after I hit the shot, I'm going to use a mental strategy to ingrain it. Good, and that was perfect. So that's like me. I can do that all day long. Love it. All right. So that's one way we can random practice. The other way that I coach my students to random practice is actually playing the golf course on the driving range. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to set up a fairway, and our driving range is great for that because we've got these trees, we've got all these targets. If you're not on a range that has that, you might have to be a little bit more creative. But I'm going to set up a fairway, and I'm going to hit my drive, and based on how I hit my drive, I'm going to pick one of these other targets. And when I hit my second shot, if I miss the green, I'm going to hit a little pitch shot down here in front of me to represent getting the ball on the green. And you can play par 4s, par 5s, par 3s. And to share a story with you, I had a client a couple years ago that I went through this with him, and he was getting ready to bring 3 guests out here to Naples Grand. And the day before he brought them, he grabbed the scorecard off the cart, went on the driving range, and he played 1 through 18 at Naples Grand, and he went out the next day and shot the best score he'd ever shot at Naples Grand. And the story, or how I like to end that story, is if I had a math test, I would study math the night before. I wouldn't study English, I wouldn't study Spanish, I wouldn't study some other subject. I would study the core subject that I have the test on. And that's what he was really doing. He was preparing himself to play Naples Grand that next day, and as a result, he scored well. So let's do this. I'm going to grab my driver. I'm going to pick a fairway here. Grab a tee real quick. All right, so I'm going to be hard on myself here. I'm going to pick a pretty tight fairway. So I am going to go between the yellow flag and the trees. That's the fairway. Anything right or left, and I'm in the rough. And just like I'm on the golf course, I go through my pre-shot routine. I set up, I see my target, and I'm going to make the best swing I can to put this ball in the fairway. And that's great. It's down the left side of the fairway, in the fairway. Struck it pretty well. So I'm going to leave myself a short iron in. So I've already measured these flags in the first random practice that we did. So I'm just going to go to that yellow flag out there. I already know my club. Obviously you'd have to get your yardages and calibrate your club as you're doing this, but I already know what it is. So I've got my club. I'm going through my pre-shot routine. One critical thing that I forgot to do there was that was a great drive, and I need to imprint that. So that's like me. I can do that all day long. All right, now yellow flag. Going through my pre-shot routine, and I'm going to hit it right to that yellow flag. Good. Right on the left side of the green. So that's like me. I can do that all day long. And what I would do now is I would go on to the next hole. And I would keep going and practicing that way. So those are two very effective ways that you can spend your time on the driving range actually getting better at playing golf versus just standing there and hitting ball. I call it the machine gun, where you just hit a ball and rake it over, hit a ball and rake it over. Sometimes I have to get in between the golf balls and my students because they're in such a habit of hitting and raking, hitting and raking. But it gets us away from that. And if you could come out and spend 20 minutes, get yourself warmed up, but just spend 20 minutes playing a few different holes on the driving range, that's really going to move your game forward versus standing in one spot with one club, and half of them you hit okay, the other half you don't, and then you got to run and get a lesson. Do things that are going to move the needle for you on the golf course, and that's going to be this random practice. So now you know some very effective things that you can do to play better and practice less, and that's randomizing your practice by either picking random targets and different clubs and just going from one to another, not redoing shots, imprinting it mentally, or by playing the golf course on the driving range. Either way, it's going to help you to improve your game. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I have 2 more here right now that I promise will continue to help you improve your game. And remember, please like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and comment.